Yeah, great question, because that is definitely relationships, and that's one of the biggest things I think in this business is relationships. And a lot of businesses are like that, right? It's all in who you know, but definitely like who you're surrounding yourself with. And I think just finding a team or partners that you trust and that you just some people you just click with, right? And so for me, it was going to networking events, and eventually joining a mentorship program. I'm really big on education too. That's a big thing too. I think no matter what you want to do in life, it's educating yourself.
This is episode 73 of Keeping It Real Estate. Our guest today is Dawn Keller, who is the owner and founder of Crown Capital Multifamily. She's a general partner and limited partner in 600 doors through the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex. Dawn's passion is helping others invest in real estate so they can grow their wealth and create a more meaningful and fulfilling life. Dawn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dan. It is my honor to be here with you guys today. Yeah, I'd love to just, really just kind of share a little bit about my story. I believe that there's a lot of people out there like me that genuinely want to make a difference, like really a change in their life, in their career, in their financial situation. And I also find that there's a lot of people that want to invest in real estate. They just don't know how or where, or frankly, just don't have the time. And that was me. And I think, I'm hoping by sharing my story that I can help others. There's been so many people that have helped me along the way in this business. And I like to help others. I like to pay that forward. Right. So, yeah, is it okay if I just kind of jump in and share a little bit?
I would love that. If you can, let's start maybe, what you're doing now or how you got to what you're doing now, and then the transition of what the desire was to get to real estate. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I definitely feel like I'm working two jobs right now. So I am a real estate investor, specifically multifamily apartment investor, but I also have a full-time W-2 job where I work with casinos and help casinos with promotions for just driving traffic to the property. So definitely nothing to do with real estate at all. So I feel like I'm definitely working two jobs. And I also just, just for everyone who may not know me, I live in the Dallas area with my husband, Jason, and our very sweet pit mix, Fiona, that we adopted a couple years ago during COVID. She's a COVID baby. And I grew up mostly in Texas. I'm originally from Chicago, but Texas has definitely been my home. But I didn't grow up with a lot, to be honest. My parents got divorced when I was 2 years old, and I remember a time where before my mom remarried, before she married my stepdad, I remember watching her work two jobs and raising three small children. And I have no doubt that that has carried throughout my life, just making it's made me a very independent person. It's just carried throughout my life. And I have so much respect for her. I'll never know truly all the sacrifices that she had to make. But I think watching her do that, I think the truth is that a lot of times we don't always have all the answers, and we don't know how we're going to get through something. We don't know how we're going to get through a challenging time, or even if there's something that you want to achieve in your life, like how you're going to get there. But sometimes you just got to figure it out. Right. And I think that's really helped me just throughout my life. That's really resonated with me watching her. So, and then also growing up, my parents taught me just to get a good job and save my money. That's what they knew, right? Is just, save your money. So I became a really good saver. I put it all in a 401k, and that's not really working out for me. And, I think, now my parents are in their 70s and they're still working. They're both still working. And I hate that. I hate them for them. And I don't want them to have to work. If they want to work, great. But I don't want that for them. And frankly, I don't want that for myself. And I think that that is a reality that a lot of people are facing right now. I just talked to a gentleman the other day that's a surgeon, actually, who's now an investor with me. And he, on a phone call, he said, Dawn, I'm 56 and he makes a very handsome salary as a surgeon. And he said, I thought I'd be able to retire by now, by 55, maybe 60. And he said, that's not going to happen. And I think that's the problem, is that a lot of people, we all, we think that we're doing the right things by saving or investing in the stock market or retirement accounts. And it turns out sometimes that's just not enough. And that's really what got me looking for other ways. I'm like, man, there's got to be an easier way to do this. Right. So I probably was watching too much HGTV. And so I did a single family flip. That was the first thing that I did. Right. So any flippers out there, oh my gosh, like they make it look so easy on HGTV. Right. And it's a really hard thing to do. And I did it. It was very profitable. But my first thought was, how am I going to scale this? How am I going to scale this into something? If you're doing flips, you got to have this massive pipeline of flips coming through really to scale that. So I knew that wasn't what I was looking for. And I did a lot of research on a lot of different asset classes and eventually came across multifamily. And it really just, multifamily investing just checked all the boxes for me. It just was exactly what I was looking for. It had the scalability I was looking for, putting my money into something that was really going to grow exponentially. Plus some other benefits that I didn't even know about, like great tax benefits and other things that really just helped me get to those goals faster. And I'm so glad that I did. I started passively investing first, and because I didn't have the time to be more hands-on. And even those passive investments are some of the best investments that I've made. So it's really kind of just helped me just achieve those financial goals, that financial freedom. And today I have now become a general partner. I'm in, as you mentioned, Dan, in 600 doors. My partners and I have $40 million of assets under management, and it's been incredible. It's been a great journey. And so I like sharing this with other people, because I didn't even know that this existed. And I feel like there's a lot of savvy investors that are looking for other ways to put their money to work, to make their money work for them. And they don't even know this is an option. Right. So that was me.
Wow, I love the story. A couple things, Don, that stand out to me is you saw your mom work 2 jobs. And for all the parents out there, I'm a parent now, and they say your kids watch more of what you do than what you say. And you saw your mom work these 2 jobs, and it created a work ethic in you of, we go out and we get it done. And I just think that's something to keep in mind, and hear parents that your kids are watching you, and just keep that in mind. And then I love the other part you talked about is, how can you scale? You started with a single family home, and your thought was, how can I scale? Which I don't think is a thought most investors think. They are like, I'm going to do another single family home. I was profitable. I mean, it's pretty amazing that it was profitable. And your question was, how can I scale this? So you started to passively invest. You said first, how did you find the folks to invest with, from being a flipper to now you're in multifamily? How did you come across that?
Yeah, great question, because that is definitely relationships, and that's one of the biggest things I think in this business is relationships. And a lot of businesses are like that, right? It's all in who you know, but definitely like who you're surrounding yourself with. And I think just finding a team or partners that you trust, and that some people you just click with, right? And so for me, it was going to networking events. And eventually joining a mentorship program. I'm really big on education too. That's a big thing too. I think no matter what you want to do in life, it's educating yourself. So that was a big thing. I did that first, and then it was the people that I met and connected with. And it's funny. I think there's so many people that I've met that are willing to help. I found that very interesting, especially coming from, I spent a lot of time in single family, even though I just did that one flip. I went to a lot of conferences, spent a lot of time in single family. And when I started going to these multifamily events, there were so many people that were really willing to help, just help with education, just questions, and take the time out of their lives. And that really attracted me immediately to multifamily, is that these are just genuine, like down to earth people that really want to help others. And I think it's almost like, once you know the secret, it's like, why wouldn't you want to share that with other people? It's that abundance mindset. Why would you keep that to yourself? Like I'd love to, I tell everyone about multifamily now, because I want my friends and my family and everyone to succeed and have that success. Why would you want to keep that to yourself? So for me, it was just connecting with people that I really just clicked with, and started investing with people that I like and that I trust, that have been doing this for a while. And that's how I started passively investing.
Gotcha. And so when you are going to these meetups and you're going to this mentoring program, is the education all within these groups? Did you do any other sort of education on the way to feel comfortable buying? Because the deals you're buying, I think if I'm remembering correctly, is 60 to a couple hundred units. I mean, these are bigger multifamily apartments. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. My first passive investment was 265 doors as a passive investor. My first as a GP was 91 doors, a $10 million property. That's kind of a mindset thing too. I think it still kind of blows my mind sometimes when you think about it, that you're investing in these. But to me, I look at it as like, take my single family flip. That it was $160,000 house that I bought when I did that flip. I could take that same $160,000 and put it into a $20 million property in a syndication, and it can produce so much more income, that same $160,000. So it's like you're getting a smaller piece of a much, much bigger pie. So that attracted me to that. But yeah, definitely connecting with the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people that have been doing this for a while. And again, to me, it's also just connecting with people that you really, that you just resonate with you. Some people you just click with, you just vibe with, right? And others you don't. And so that to me, you're going to be investing with these people for a while. So you want to make sure that you get to know them and really like them and see what they're about, right? That have good values. And I think for me, it was finding someone or multiple people that when your intentions are in the right place. Like if you're coming from, like, I like heart-centered people that they're focusing on, it's not about the money at all. They're focusing on what's the right thing to do. If your heart is in the right place, you have the right intentions, that's who I want to align myself with. That was really important to me.
Yeah, that's huge, you guys. I mean, finding partners that you have similar values and you share similar beliefs, and you're heading into business with these people. It's like almost like a marriage. You're going to be working with these people hand in hand. So as you go into business, whether you're a passive investor or a general partner, you've got to get to know, like, and trust these folks that you're going to be working with. Let's say as you're looking at a deal to passively invest in, Dawn, what kind of criteria do you have, or what were some of the things you were looking for in a deal? Let's just say there's folks that are listening. They're like, I'm looking at 3, 4, 5 deals. What would be some things or some red flags that you might say, I'm going to pass on that, or yeah, I want to invest in this deal?
So I'm big on location. That's probably my aside from the general partner team, that's obviously the first thing that I look for, right? But definitely as far as the deal itself, the property itself, I'm big on location. It can be an older property, but if it's in a good area, if it's in a good neighborhood, that to me, like, I'm good with that. Because you can take an older property and do a lot with it if it's in a really good area. So there's the household income in the surrounding area is good. You look for things like, is it by schools and churches and good shopping. There's a property that I'm in Fort Worth here that is a 70s property. And so it's an older property, but it's 4 blocks from a central market and Starbucks and Chick-fil-A and me seeing the like A-class restaurants and shopping. That to me is really important. So that's probably the number one thing that I look for.
Awesome. Yeah, I cannot stress that enough, you guys, as well. When I look at our deals that we own and manage, the number one thing that Mike and I are digging in on is, what is the location and what direction is this submarket heading in? It doesn't matter what you buy. If you're in a location that's headed downhill, or you've got jobs leaving, you're not in a landlord friendly state, you might have the best business plan in the world, but if your location is heading downhill, your asset value is going to go downhill. So what Dawn is talking about is absolutely critical to get very clear on. And if you don't understand the location well enough, just wait, or do more research, or ask more questions to the general partner team if you're looking at putting your money in. What would be another piece of criteria that if you're looking to invest in a passive deal, that you got your location, you've got the team, anything else as far as returns, cash flow, or business plans, anything that are either good or bad that you'd watch out for?
Yeah, I do like to see that there is a business plan in place that's other than just increasing rent, right? Which is, we can definitely do that, especially in Dallas. So I personally have only invested in DFW, in the DFW area. I've been here for over 35 years. So I know the area really well. But there's other great markets, like you mentioned. I mean, there's, Nashville and some, but Dallas, is growing like crazy. So I love Dallas. But there's definitely, I like it when I see there's just not relying on only the rent increases, even though that is very achievable in Dallas, but the other income, getting really creative on, what can we do to, let's say, like, add some of these older properties and built in like the 70s and 80s. They don't have washer and dryer connections in the units because they're older, and that's a huge amenity that that residents look for, right? So even by installing the plumbing for that, and then being able to even rent out washer and dryer units or washer and dryer sets, to the residents, that additional income, those types of things, I like to see that in a business plan, because you're generating other income other than just relying on rent increases alone. So
Yeah.
I like, it's getting creative, right? It's not just saying like, okay, we just think we can just increase rent and bump rent and bump rent. No, we've really taken the time, the general partner team has taken the time to, let's really look at this deal. What opportunities do we have here? And kind of taking the time to uncover those those hidden gems that the property has.
Yeah, the other income can be massive. You could have Wi-Fi as other income. She talks about washer and dryer, covered parking. A lot of times you can do utility bill reductions by coming in and completely replacing all of the toilets and putting aerators on throughout all of the sinks. So definitely something to look at there as you're looking at the value add strategy. Just make sure those other income items are actually feasible. And ideally, these folks that are doing these deals have done them before, and they've got a track record to prove it out. So let's talk about maybe some challenges. You're working this W-2 and you're doing very well. You're successful at it, but you're looking for something more to create, I guess, generational wealth or put your money to work. What are the biggest challenges, or what were some of the biggest setbacks or things you had to overcome to go from, I'm at my W-2 to, hey, now I'm investing in apartments legitimately?
Yes. Oh, yeah. There's always challenges. Yes. I'd say time is my biggest challenge, right? Juggling the two, since I am essentially working two jobs right now. Time's my biggest challenge. But what I've recognized is that sacrifices they're necessary, but they're temporary. And I've had to make a lot of sacrifice. And I think that is any time in life. Sometimes when you want to make a change, there are sacrifices. Change can be hard, right? And even in your financial situation, when you're used to investing one way, and then kind of making that shift to invest in a different way, it takes some time. It takes some sacrifices sometimes. And so I have made a lot of sacrifices. Maybe right now it's maybe sacrificing some personal things that I'd rather be doing, and working, a little bit more. But when you realize that those things are, they're just temporary, and those things are necessary to get to your goals, it's totally worth it. So that kind of has really kept me focused. I did also hire a VA last year, and that was a game changer. So that was definitely a huge help. And just having, creating a team is so important. And I think this is why the beauty of partners, because I'm kind of I do it yourself kind of person. Like, if you want something done right, do it yourself, which is not really true. I think partners are a secret weapon. If you can partner up with the right people, and you can go so much further. And that has been a reflection in my real estate investing, just that I don't have to do it myself. I can put my money to work with another GP team, and they put my money to work for me, and I don't have to do it myself, as opposed to, like, say, that single family flip where I felt like I had to do everything on my own. That's not the case. There's smarter ways to invest, where I can have somebody else do all of the work for me if I just want to passively invest and let them do it. And that really is a huge time saver, where my money can still be working for me the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah. One point I want to just kind of touch on here with what you just were talking about, Don, is you sacrificed, this time piece right now. You have these two jobs, and sacrifices are necessary and temporary. What was it that motivated you to, instead of taking your money that you're doing well with, most people just immediately go buy a bigger home or a bigger car. What switch happened in your mind to say, you know what, I'm going to save the money, and instead of buying a bigger car or a bigger home, I'm going to invest it first into an apartment to take care of the capital? What was there something that happened along the way, or how did you get that piece of advice?
I think for me, I think I came to a point where I realized that I had to make a choice, that I could either grind it out for the next 20 to 25 years in my W-2 job, or I could do something different. I could do something different that's going to change the trajectory of my financial future. And I think that's kind of the problem sometimes, is that most of us have good lives. Like we live a good life. And if we don't make any changes at all, you're gonna be okay. Chances are you're gonna be okay. You're gonna live an okay. You're gonna be fine, right? But you have to make a choice. Like, are you okay with living that okay life, that maybe even mediocre life, or do you want something more? Are you going to make a change? Are you willing to make a change, make the sacrifice, make that shift to create a different life? And I think that's what that was really about for me. Is I believe that we are all created for something so much bigger. I think we're all created for something just magnificent, and we're not designed to just clock in and clock out of our jobs every day and just count down the days to the weekend, right? I think that's not what life is about. Like, there's so much more. And we all, when we think about financial freedom, and that means different things to different people, but I think for the majority of people, I'd be willing to bet that it's not about the money. It's about what money can do, right? It's money gives us the opportunity to live that life that we want. I think what we all really want, it's not the money. I think it's the time. We want time for the things that are important to us. It's whether it's time with your family and friends, or traveling, or volunteering, things that make your heart full. I think that's really what we're all seeking. It's more about that. That's what financial freedom to me is. And that was the big picture of why I was willing to make that shift.
Yeah, that's huge. Looking forward, based off of where you were and where you are now, do you have a projection of when you may be able to fully retire and become a full-time real estate investor? Do you have any, goals with that, or where are you at with that process?
My goal is the end of 2023.
Wow. Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's exciting. You're definitely on your way. Let's just say what couple or your biggest mistake. I think about my life. I'm like, man, my biggest mistake was I should have started sooner, and I should have gotten educated by somebody who knew what they were doing earlier. We bought property for 5 years, and then finally came and got educated by someone who had a much larger track record and learned a totally different way of investing. So my biggest mistake is I should have got after it earlier, and I should have got the education sooner. Do you have anything that you look back and say, dang, I wish I would have done this differently?
Um, I think I probably would have not over analyzed as much. There were several between that flip that I did, and then the time that I actually started investing in multifamily, there was a period of time that I probably over analyzed. And I think that's a little bit about fear too. It's fear of the unknown, not knowing what you're getting yourself into. And I wish I would have not wasted so much time over analyzing. I think myself out of things, right? And so I think just overthinking. And that's what I would say is, like, don't let fear paralyze you, because that's a real thing. And I think a lot of people sometimes right now, especially, are fearful. Not what are we facing, in this market? Is it a recession? Or what about interest rates? Things are, whatever is going crazy. Nobody knows. Nobody has a crystal ball. But I would say, don't be fearful. Like, there's opportunities in every market cycle. There's opportunities. I mean, 2020, during a pandemic, was probably one of the best times to invest, when everyone else was fearful. And so I think for me, I think it was just, just taking action. And instead of kind of taking a back seat and watching from the sidelines and thinking like, oh, I should be doing that, maybe I should do this, and analyzing everything to death, is just taking action. I think that's the biggest thing, is taking that first step. And from there, it seems like it just snowballs and it gets easier.
Yeah, yeah. Don was graduated magna cum laude from the University of North Texas. So I could see how overthinking might come into play here. Specifically, though, for the listeners, what are some things that you were overthinking? What were you scared of? I mean, was it the market, or was it like you just didn't understand multifamily, or what were some of the things you feared?
Well, I think we work so hard for our money, right? And so I wanted to be very selective of what I was putting my money into. Now, granted, I was also putting my money into a 401k that was down 30%. So that did me no good. And that was painful to see that. So, but yeah, I think it was just the unknown. I think it was the education piece that I just wanted to be more educated and finding something that checked all the boxes. Like I said, I wasn't afraid to jump into that single family flip. I think maybe going a little bit bigger, sometimes there is that kind of a disconnect. And so, but it's not, it's really not, I think it's just it's that unknown. It's that fear of the unknown. But once you do it, man, I just encourage you, like I have zero regrets. I wish, like you said, I wish I had done it sooner. I hosted a meetup last night and there was a young gentleman there that's 19 years old. And I looked at him and said, "You are the smartest person in the room, my friend, because you were here at 19 years old. And I wish I had started sooner." Right. But, we're here now. So no regrets. You move forward. But I would just, that would be the one thing I wish that I hadn't spent so much time overthinking and like which direction I should go and just go all in.
Yeah, understood. So as you head towards your 2023 goal and retiring year end, what do you need to do from here to say, yes, I'm moving out? I mean, is there a door count? Is it a passive income goal? What steps do you think you need to take in order to hit that goal?
That's a good question. I don't have a specific door count. Definitely there's a number, just it's kind of replacing that income. The good news with multifamily is making that transition to full time is that there's so many tax benefits of being a full time real estate investor that I don't have to 100% replace my current income. So there is that factor, and that's let's do part 2 on this podcast, and I can come back with you and say, it's probably that fear again, right? It's taking that leap, right? I don't think there's a set number. I think that it's just making that transition of saying, I'm gonna go all in. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally hear you there. I think that part 2 on your goals would be great for people to hear. For me, it was I had a similar situation as I was trying to transition out of my athletic career to being full-time in multifamily. I got a little bit of a unique situation where I started to get fired and I got clipped, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough money for the next 10 years, let alone enough for retirement. And I was doing pretty dang good. But my point to add to what Dawn said is, because of the tax benefits, you could earn far less in real estate, but still make the same amount because you didn't have as large of a tax bill. So something to consider as you look to become a real estate professional and as you look to potentially be more involved with the asset management and the ownership side of being a general partner with real estate. Let's just talk a little bit about maybe your next 3 to 5 year goals. Where do you see yourself moving forward in the next 3 to 5 years, and what would be a successful 3 to 5 year goal for you?
I think that for me, I mean, definitely like, I'd want to increase my doors exponentially. Right. And I don't necessarily have a set number to that. I don't, I'm not as big on number of doors as a lot of people are focused on. I think it's just getting to a place where I have more flexibility with my life. I think that's what's really important to me. Yes, do I have financial goals? Absolutely. But I want to create a life that I am more in control. There's things that I want to do I'm big on volunteering. I used to volunteer a lot. Genesis Women's Shelter was one of the nonprofits. I'm trying to think of more nonprofits that I used to volunteer for, and time has gotten away from me, and I just haven't been able to do that. And so, for me, I want to get back and doing stuff like that. Is volunteering. I want to create a life that I have more control of my finances. I can choose when and where and who I want to work with. That's really important to me. So I think just that I think in general, that's what going back to the financial freedom, I think that that's what that looks like, is creating a life that is more abundant. I also, I like helping other people. And so I'm working on writing a book right now. And it's not even about real estate. It's just about encouraging other people, because I think that there's a lot of people that are stuck and where they are, whether that's financially or just in their personal lives. And I've overcome a lot in my life. And I want to encourage other people, just no matter where you are in your life, that we have a choice every day of what our story is. We're creating our story, our lives. I think, I was kind of stuck in my self-limiting beliefs for a long time. I wasn't raised to, you can do anything that you want. You can be anything that you want to do. I wasn't raised like that. And so for me, it was a lot of cutting through a lot of those years of lies that we buy into, those self-limiting beliefs of what you can and can't do and what you're capable of. And I want to encourage other people in that, because once you break through some of that and change that mindset shift, I think we're capable of so much more. And so for me, really, that's what my, I guess, 3 to 5 year goal would be, is to be in a position where I can help other people, is encourage other people through writing, through speaking events, and just help them wherever they are, and help them get to that next level wherever they want to be.
Nice. If we have folks that are listening here, if you give them the top 2 or 3 things they could do to help them, invest passively in real estate, if they know nothing about multifamily, they're hearing this podcast, they're hearing you talk, they resonate, and they're like, oh, she found a way to do it. What could be something 2 or 3 things they could do in the next 30 days to follow a similar path? They work a W-2, they want to be passively investing in these deals. They're not sure where to find them. They don't know how to, create these relationships with these people. What would be the best way for them to start taking action and do something about that?
Yeah, I would definitely, this is one way, right? Is podcasts. I listen to a ton of podcasts. I follow a lot of people that I just really resonate with, and I think connecting with them, like setting up one-on-one calls. I think listening to a podcast or webinars, there's a ton of free content out there, but I would say, get educated first. There's a lot of free education out there as well. So I would say number 1 for me was education. That was really important to me. And then number 2 was connecting with people that have already done the thing that you're looking to do. And so finding those people like yourself, Dan, and like me, I love helping people. So connecting with someone that's doing that, and just ask the questions, right? I feel like when I first got in this space, I felt like a deer in the headlights, just like there's so much information out there, and it's like, gosh, like, where do you begin? And so I would say really relying on someone that you trust I think that's the best way. That's how I learned, is finding people that, and it kind of started as a friendship really for me, is some of the people that I met in this business that we just became friends. And then I was able to just learn from them and grow together. And so I think surrounding yourself with the right people, I think, is huge, no matter what you want to do. Definitely that's a really big thing. So I'd say education and relationships, finding those people that really you can resonate with.
Yeah, I would just reiterate, the podcasts are huge. Finding podcasts that have great folks on that you can connect with. You can connect with Dawn or myself, or there's a ton of podcasts out there all about multifamily investing. There's meetups everywhere. There's a bunch of 3-day seminars. I've been to a lot of them. They're probably not going to teach you to be a general partner, but they'll get you around other folks who have similar goals and who are looking to invest just like you. What you said, you're writing a book. What's it going to be called? Do you have that figured out yet?
I don't have a title yet.
Okay.
So you'll have to have me back, and when I finish it, and I'll have a title for you.
Okay,
But
good.
it's basically, and you and I may have talked about this, is that sometimes life doesn't always look like what you thought it was going to look like, and that's okay. And so you just figure it out. And I think it's just about overcoming obstacles and moving forward. But I love that we can change our story. every day that we have the ability to make a different choice and to change our story. Just because yesterday looked like one thing, it doesn't mean that that's what today has to look like. So every day we have a choice, and that's your personal life, that's your financial life, and that was me. Like I said, I had a choice of, do I want to grind this out in my job, and which I would be okay if I did that. I'd have an okay life. I can grind it out for the next 20, 25 years, or I have a choice to do something different. So
Yeah.
that's really what it's about, is we have choices every day, and that's the beauty of it. We get to decide, right?
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I love it too. And as you get into this business and you get around some of these folks, like Donna's saying, they might become good friends. You get to know them on a pretty good level where you feel confident and trusting of heading into business with those types of people. If any of our listeners wanted to connect with you, Don, as we wrap this up, how could they go about doing that? What's the best way to connect with you?
Sure. Yeah, probably the best way is my website, which is crownmultifamily.com. And I have a free gift for you guys too. It's in which you can get it on my website. It's called 10 Tips to Make Your Money Work for You. So that's on my website as well. So yeah, go to crownmultifamily.com.
Awesome, Don. Thanks for coming on. You guys get that 10 tips to make your money work for you at crownmultifamily.com. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you, Don.
Thank you so much, Dan. It's been an honor.